So coming to the next three standards in the 600 series, SE 600, SE 610 and SE 620. Yes, 600 is regarding using the work of another auditor. Right, so SE 600, which is regarding using the work of another auditor. Yes, who is this another auditor? Yes, he is nobody but the branch auditor. Yes, Companies Act, which section talks about branch audit? Companies Act 2013, which section talks about branch audit over there? Yes, 143 subsection 8, which is regarding the branch audit. That every branch of a company shall be audited either by the company auditor himself or a person who is qualified to be appointed as an auditor under section 141 subsection 1 and 2. And if the branch is situated in a country outside India, then a person who is qualified to be appointed as an auditor as per the laws of that foreign country. And then the branch auditor, he will submit his report to the company auditor, and then company auditor will issue the final report to the shareholders. Right, so we have SE 600 and then we have 143.8. Right, so now in SE 600 we call them as the principal auditor and we call him as the another auditor or the other auditor or the component auditor. And Companies Act, we call them as the company auditor and we call him as the branch auditor. Company auditor and branch auditor. And 600 you call it as the principal auditor and the another auditor or the other auditor who is doing the audit of the components. Components matlab he is doing the audit of the subsidiary, the division, the department, the branch of the company. Right, so principal auditor and other auditor, and here you have the company auditor and the branch auditor. Right, only the words used are a bit different. Right, so SE 600 and 143.8 in a branch audit. What is 143 subsection 8 of the Companies Act? It is regarding the branch audit. Right, can the principal auditor use the work of another auditor? So, say Jio Limited has 10 subsidiaries, 10 branches. Out of these 10 branches, 2 branches are being audited by company auditor only. But say 8 branches are being audited by other than the company auditor. That is, they are being audited by the branch auditors. So, can the principal auditor use the work of the branch auditor? Can he place reliance on the work of the branch auditor? Yes, he can place reliance, but CTBR continues to be responsible. Tomorrow anything goes wrong at the branch, anything goes wrong with the branch audit report, principal auditor, you cannot pinpoint finger at the other auditor. Okay, I did not do anything, he had done the work, I only used his report. No. You can use his report, but only after doing the evaluation of his work. Only after you have checked the adequacy of the work done by the other auditor. You understand now? So can you rely on the work of the other auditor? Yes, but you cannot blindly rely. Aankh band karke you cannot keep bharosa on the work of the other auditor. So what do you need to do? You need to do the evaluation of the work of another auditor. Why do you need to do the evaluation? Why do you need to check the adequacy of the work done by other auditor? Because CTBR continues to be responsible. So can the principal auditor rely? Yes, he can rely, but he cannot blindly rely. So do what? Do the evaluation. Check the adequacy of the work. Why to check the adequacy of the work? Why to do the evaluation? Because CTBR continues to be responsible. So obviously the first thing which I am going to discuss with you in SE 600 is regarding the evaluation of the work. Who has to follow the standard? Principal auditor or other auditor? Principal auditor, who is using the work of the other auditor. Right, so first thing that I am going to talk to you in this standard is regarding the evaluation of the work of the branch auditor. And evaluation of the work of the another auditor. Okay, so first, what does the standard say? Auditor place reliance unless there is an indication or unless there are circumstances which indicate that he should not rely. What does it say? The principal auditor, you should place reliance on the work of the other auditor unless there are circumstances. The sentence is written in your book, so I'm not writing it entirely over here. The principal auditor should place reliance on the work of the other auditor unless there are circumstances which indicate that he should not rely. But what did I tell you? He cannot blindly rely. So he needs to do the evaluation. So in the evaluation, what is the first thing of the other auditor for the other auditor that I am going to check? I am going to check the competence of the other auditor. I am going to check the competence of the other auditor. Now, Companies Act has made it very clear that only a CA can do the audit of the branch. And if the branch is outside India, then the CA of that country. Like if your branch is in America, then that American CPA can do the audit of the branch. You understand? So competence will be very easy over here because now unqualified persons are not allowed. Old company law, you had those branch audit exemption rules, where sometimes even an unqualified could do the audit if the CA was not available at reasonable cost. But abhi to compulsory kiya hai. Okay, all branches are to be audited by a CA, and only for branches which are outside India, CA to can do audit, matlab Indian CA, plus a person who can be appointed as an auditor as per the laws of that foreign country. So you need to check the competence. Second, you need to coordinate with the other auditor while planning the work. What does it say? The principal auditor should consider the other auditor like a small brother. It's not that, okay, you do your work, I'll do my work. Once the principal auditor says, I will do my work, branch auditor says, I will do my work. And once branch auditor has done his work, he will submit his report to the principal auditor. And then he says, I will staple your report and we will issue the final report. It's not like that. Okay, you do your work, I will do my work, we will take the report, staple it and give it. It's not that way. It says you have to coordinate with the other auditor while planning the work. Okay, who is going to do the assessment of the RMM? Okay, what are the RMM identified? What are the significant risks identified in the audit? What are the CARO compliance to be checked at HO? What are to be checked at branch? AS ka compliance, Schedule 3 ka compliance, how to do the audit in accordance with the standards, whether confirmations will be sent at HO level or branch has to send for their own. You understand whether physical verification of inventory attendance will be done at HO or whether branch should do it. Whether TOC will be done at HO level or whether to be done at branch level. How much materiality to be taken in the audit. How much samples are to be checked at the branch. You understand where the work of the expert is going to be used. Who is going to appoint the expert, branch auditor or company auditor. So what does it say? Coordinate with the other auditor. By what date your report should reach to the company auditor. And coordinate with the other auditor while planning the work. What does it say? Advise the other auditor as to the significant accounting, auditing and reporting requirements. Advise the other auditor as to the significant accounting, auditing and reporting requirements. Give him advice. I told you, this company auditor, what he does, the head office auditor, he prepares something called as the referral instructions. Some nice 10-20 pages in which all this has been written and he sends it to all the branch auditor. Why is taking so much of effort? Why so much of headache? Because CTBR. मैंने बोला ना, you have to consider him like a small brother. So what does it say? Coordinate with the other auditor while planning the work. Advise the other auditor as to the significant accounting, auditing, reporting requirements. Then it says discuss with the other auditor. Phone lagao. Discuss with the other auditor. अगर जरूरत पड़े तो उसको बोलना रुको अभी मैं एक दिन आ ही जाता हूँ. Visit the other auditor if the need be. विजिट. क्यों इतना आप उसके पीछे अपनी जान लगा रहे हो? क्योंकि CTBR ना. विजिट द अदर ऑडिटर. है ना, visit, discuss with the other auditor. हाँ, and not one-way traffic, no. Only you don't keep on, saying what are the risks which you have identified, what are the areas which require importance. Also consider the significant findings of the other auditor. तो वो छोटा भाई बड़े भाई को बोलता है, अरे यार मेरे को भी ये थोड़ा थोड़ा प्रॉब्लम आ रहा है, तो ही ऑल्सो शुड गेट एन अपॉर्चुनिटी. मैं बड़ा तो सब मैं ही बोलूंगा, ऐसा थोड़ी होता है ना. कंसिडर द सिग्निफिकेंट फाइंडिंग्स ऑफ द अदर ऑडिटर. You understand? So what are the points we have over there? C cube ADV, no? C cube. First three C's we have over there. Competence, coordinate, consider the significant findings. And then we have advise, discuss, and visit. Right? This is an ATF of the standard. You understand? Evaluation of the work. Hana? C cube ADV. What is C cube? You understand? C cube is what? Competence of the other auditor. Coordinate with the other auditor. Consider the significant findings of the other auditor. Then after that, advise the other auditor. Discuss with the other auditor. Visit the other auditor. Visit the other auditor. Visit the office of the auditor or visit the branch of the company. Do you understand? Evaluation of the work. Right? This is the most important part of the essay. So what does the standard say? The auditor shall place reliance on the work of such auditor unless there are circumstances which make it essential for him to visit the component and examine the books of account and other records of the said component. Component matlab kya? It's given over here. Division, branch, subsidiary, joint venture, associated enterprise, or any other entity whose financial information is included in the financial information audited by the principal auditor. So this substandard will also apply for the auditing reporting on consolidated financial statements, where there is holding company and subsidiaries, and some of the subsidiaries have been audited by another auditor. So wo bhi chota bhai. You understand over there? Right. Then what does it say? I've already discussed C cube ADV. And what does it say? Consider the professional competence of the other auditor. Now, so he will be a chartered accountant except where the branch is outside India. Then he will be an auditor as per the laws of that country. Then coordinate with the other auditor while planning the work. Consider the significant findings of the other auditor. Advise the other auditor as to the significant accounting, auditing, and reporting requirements. Discuss with the other auditor the audit procedures applied, or a review of the written summary of the other audit procedures and findings, which may be in the form of a questionnaire or a checklist. Then principal auditor may also visit the other auditor. Right, so what did we say? C cube ADV. What is C cube ADV? The competence, then coordinate, then consider, then advise, then discuss, and also visit. Do you understand that? Right, so that is first regarding the evaluation. Then what documentation should be kept by the principal auditor? The company auditor. One, the names of the components which have been audited by another auditor. So 8 branches ka kya naam hai, kya location hai, the details of those. Then the significance of those components in the financial statements. Say they contribute 20% of the revenue, 30% of the assets, the significance of those components. Then any conclusion reached that any component is not material. But now even immaterial components are to be audited. But principal auditor says these 2 components are so small. No need to appoint a separate auditor for them. I will only do the audit of these 2 branches. And now, say for the branch auditor, say for the branch auditor has issued a qualified opinion and he has sent this report to the company auditor. Should company auditor also modify his report for the entity as a whole? Entity level, I am asking you. So should he? So branch auditor has issued a qualified report for the branch. So should company auditor also issue a qualified report for the company as a whole? No, so branch auditor has qualified. So should company auditor, branch auditor is qualified his opinion for the branch. So should company auditor modify his opinion for the company as a whole? He may qualify, he may not qualify. He needs to consider the effect. So he says, no, but this is material at the branch. This is not material at company level. So even though if branch auditor has issued qualified, I will still issue unmodified. Or he may say, ke baap re, the qualification at the branch is so material that it affects the company as a whole. कि बैंक के एक ब्रांच पे इतना बड़ा फ्रॉड हुआ है कि it is affecting the entire bank as a whole. That type. Then he may say, okay, I will qualify my report for the company as a whole. So he may not. But whatever he does, he needs to document. Okay, even though if principal auditor, branch auditor has modified, why has he not modified? Or why he has modified when the branch auditor has modified? So it is not compulsory that when branch auditor has modified his opinion, that company auditor also has to modify. He may not. But whatever he does, he needs to document. So very important part in the fourth part in the documentation, the manner of dealing with the qualifications or the adverse remarks contained in the other auditor's report. So bhale you don't put it in your report, the qualification, but put it in your audit file. And a company auditor. I expect ICAI to make a case study on this fourth one. You know that the branch auditor has modified his opinion for the branch. However, the company auditor has not modified. So example, they will say that branch auditor has issued an opinion, qualified opinion, saying that inventory has been overvalued. However, the principal auditor has not modified his opinion for the same. Right? So is it okay? Yes, it is okay provided he has documented the reasons why he has not modified. And say after the audit was over, then after that it was found out that it was a material misstatement. So again now who will be responsible? Principal auditor, because branch auditor, poor fellow, he too had reported. This company auditor applying his own intelligence, he said it does not require modification at company level. You understand? So the manner of dealing with the qualifications or the adverse remarks contained in the other auditor's report. Right? The principal auditor should document in his audit documentation what? The manner of dealing with the qualifications or the adverse remarks in the other auditor's report. Right. And now, last one, we come to the reporting. So principal auditor thought he has no option when branches have been audited by another auditor to use the work of another auditor. But he says hopeless. And the work of this branch auditor hopeless. I sent him 20 instructions, not even one instruction he has followed. I told him to check so much of AS compliance, so much of CARO compliance, so much of samples, nothing he has done. So now what you will say? Unable to obtain sufficient appropriate evidence regarding the work of branch auditor. You are not getting that confidence over the work of branch auditor. So what to do? Qualified opinion or disclaimer of opinion. If you are not in a position to use the work of the branch auditor. And if branch auditor modifies his opinion, you also need to check whether your report requires modification. That too I just told you. Right. And last one. So now, what is the reality in Geo Limited? Okay, Geo Limited has 10 branches. In our example, Geo Limited is having 10 branches. Out of that, 2 have been audited by Dynamic and Company only. The principal auditor has only done the audit of 2 branches. And 8 branches have been audited by Integrity and Company. Another CA has done the audit of these 8 branches. Okay, so now if I issue this audit report of 700, independent auditor's report, true and fair view, signature, place and date, and here will be the signature of Mr. Dynamic. You understand, his signature will be there. Now users of audit report, what they will understand by looking at this? Okay, entire company, including the branches, have been audited by Dynamic. But is that the reality? No, 8 branches have been audited by other than company auditor. So what, and one of the speciality of audit report is clarity and transparency. So what does it say? The principal auditor should clearly mention in his report the extent to which the financial statements have been audited by another auditor. The principal auditor should clearly mention in his report the extent to which the financial statements have been audited by another auditor. Clearly he should give in his report. Yes, okay, to what extent the financial statements have been audited by another auditor. Right, come to page number 1.140. No, not 1.140, 1.141. 1.141, last paragraph. 1.141. Yes, are you all there? Page number 1.141, last para. Other matter. I'm at 700, no? And we did not audit the financial statements in my example 8 branches. Hai kya nahi? Included in the standalone financial statements of the company whose financial statement reflect total asset of say 38 crore and total revenue of say 70 crore. For the year ended on that date, as considered in the standalone financial statements, information of these branches have been audited by the branch auditors. Has everybody found that? Whose reports have been furnished to us? And our opinion insofar as it relates to the amounts and disclosures included in respect of these branches is based solely on the report of such branch auditors. Our opinion is not modified in respect of these matters. So clearly mentioned in his report, the extent to which the financial statements have been audited by another auditor. And this I will take when I come to company law, but you can just see it over there, niche. Reporting, same, 1.142 pe abhi. Report on other legal and regulatory requirements, 143.3. Everybody, are you able to locate what I am telling? हाँ, उसमें C point देखो. The reports on the accounts of the branch officers of the company audited under section 143.8, I just told you now, of the act by branch auditors have been sent to us and have been properly dealt with by us in preparing this report. So the reports of the branch auditors have been sent to us and we have properly dealt with those while preparing our own report. मतलब वो 8 branches के लिए हमको report आ गया और वो report को consider करते हुए हमने अपना report बनाया है. If all branches would have been audited by company auditor, then this sentence would not have come. But because now 8 branches in our example have been audited by another auditor, that is why this sentence has come over there. Does everybody get that? Right. So that is essay 600, which is regarding using the work of another auditor. And the most important part of the essay is what? The evaluation. The C cube ADV. The C cube ADV. Okay, and now what you'll do near that reporting ka thing, no? है ना, ये यहाँ पे लिखा है ना reporting. You will write down over there. यहाँ पे refer page number 1.141 other matter. Refer page number 1.141 other matter. Refer page number है ना 1.141 other matter. Refer page number 1.141 other matter. Yes, done everyone? Okay. Right, so that is essay 600, using the work of another auditor. So now coming to the next standard in the 600 series, essay 610, using the work of internal auditors. Using the work of internal auditors. Yes, standard revised just 1 or 2 years back, applicable with effect from 1st April 2016. Using the work of internal auditors. You understand, no? So in SE 265, do you remember 265? Communicating. 265? That's 260, no? Communicating deficiencies in internal control to those charged with governance and management. Letter of weakness. Pune to Bangalore, Solapur parcel. You understand? No? Right. So now, when we are doing essay 315, you remember 315? Identifying and assessing the risks of material misstatement through understanding the entity and its environment. And as a part of understanding the entity and its environment, you also have to understand the internal control system. As a part of understanding the internal control system, you have to understand the 5 components of the internal control system prism. And then in that prism, we have M, which is monitoring, and which I told you is nothing but internal audit. Then, in essay 330 also, we talk about the further audit procedures, that is TOC and substantive procedures. In TOC also, we have to check the design, implementation and maintenance of the internal control system in the organization. Now, under section 138 of the Companies Act 2013, for certain classes of companies, internal audit has been made compulsory in the Companies Act only. 138 for certain classes of companies. Pehle old company law never talked about internal audit. It was only Caro who used to talk of internal audit. But now in the Companies Act itself, they have prescribed for certain companies that they need to appoint an internal auditor. I just showed you one section, a clause abhi of 143.3, na? Wo branch auditors report have been sent to us and we've dealt with those reports. Wo 143.3I mein, there is one more. यानी कि ये statutory auditor के लिए ना 143.3I. 143.3 is additional reporting for statutory auditor only. उसमें एक I point है, 9 number का point. Whether the company has adequate internal financial controls and also whether they are operating effectively. है ना? So अभी statutory auditor के main मतलब companies आके reporting responsibilities में डाल दिया है additional reporting में. Whether the company, he has to also report upon the adequacy of internal financial controls. So just for your knowledge, pehle you used to have the company audit, the independent auditor's report, true and fair view. Right. Then after that, you used to have the first annexure to the audit report, which used to be on Caro. You've seen the audit report now, first audit report, and then you have the annexure to the audit report, now Caro 2016. And now there is an annexure B to the audit report, which is on the IFC for companies to which IFC is applicable. So now there are 2 annexures to the audit report, one Caro and second is regarding the IFC. Do you understand that? Okay. So keeping all this background in mind, you very much now understand the importance of the function of the internal auditors for the statutory auditor. Because what is happening over here is that some part of their work is overlapping. It's like, internal auditors get down at Solapur and we go ahead to Bangalore. You understand? No, Pune to Bangalore, internal auditors, their purpose is only to get down at Solapur. Their purpose is only to express an opinion on the effectiveness of controls in the organization. Statutory auditor, you have to go ahead. And you have to express an opinion on the financial statements. So as some part of the work of the statutory auditors and internal auditors is overlapping, can the statutory auditor use the work of internal auditor? Yes, but continues to be responsible. Can he use the work? Yes, he can use the work, but CTBR. Okay. So, what are the objectives of SA 610? First, it says whether to use the work of internal auditors. Whether and to what extent? To use the work of the internal auditors. and you've decided, yes, we are going to use the work of internal auditors. If you have decided to use the work, then in that case, you need to check the adequacy of the work done by the internal auditors, whether their work is adequate. And you need to check the adequacy of the work which has been done by the internal auditors. यानी कि again you will have to do the evaluation, है ना? You cannot blindly rely. And of this revised standard, the 2016 standards has put one more new thing. Whether to take direct assistance from the internal auditors. Whether to take any direct assistance from the internal auditors. मतलब what you say? कि क्या करते हैं ना, ये थोड़ा चेकिंग अपने लिए इंटरनल ऑडिटर को ही करने को बोल देते हैं. That type. कि तुम मतलब it's like somebody is going to buy sabzi, so you also want 1 kg tomato, so you are telling them अरे यार मेरा भी 1 kg tomato लेके आ जाना. That type. You understand ना? So whether to take any direct assistance from the internal auditors, and if you have decided to take direct assistance, then DSR. You understand DSR? Direct supervise and review the work. हाँ, मेरा काम कर रहे हो तो मैं तो ध्यान रखने ही वाली हूँ, है ना? If you would have got tomatoes only for your place, so why would have I come and seen के how are the tomatoes? But also you're getting my tomatoes, so that is why I am going to check na, the quality of the tomatoes. See, otherwise if somebody goes to buy vegetable, why will I go to see to their place ke what vegetables they get? What do I want to do? But when I have told them to get tomatoes for me also, then I am going to go and see. Are you understanding? No. So, pehla question to whether to use their work. If you've decided to use their work, then whether their work is adequate. And second, you've decided to use their work, but you says, I am not going to take any direct assistance. So then second part will not apply. You say, I am going to take direct assistance also from them. Then in that case, you will have to direct supervise and review the work of the internal auditors. मुझे तो इंस्टीट्यूट का पता है कि जब भी कोई नया स्टैंडर्ड आता है ना, वो ऑब्जेक्टिव भी पूछने में पीछे नहीं रहते. I know I see AI more than you. I think I assume, at least for audit. You understand now? And है मतलब इतना तो कंटेंट है कि 4 मार्क का तो बन ही सकता है. You understand? No? Right. The objectives of the external auditor. You know, where the entity has an internal audit function and the external auditor expects to use the work of the function to modify the nature, timing or to reduce the extent of the procedures to be performed directly by the external auditors or to use internal auditors to provide direct assistance. पहले तो whether the work of internal, to determine whether the work of internal auditor or direct assistance from internal auditors can be used. तो ये मैंने 2 पार्ट में डिवाइड किया ना, whether to use their work and whether to take direct assistance. And to what extent? मतलब क्या? Which areas and to what extent? मतलब what you are saying? कि fixed asset revenue controls I will check. बाकी सब I will use work of internal auditor. I told you not some time back कि 6-7 areas के control होता है ना, expenditure, revenue, fixed assets, inventory, payroll and investments. So you may decide कि all areas I am going to use their work. Or you may decide some areas I will check, some areas I'll use the work of internal auditor. Right. Then if using the work of internal auditor, then to check whether the work is adequate. And if using the work to provide direct assistance, then to appropriately direct, supervise and review their work. सबको समझता है ना? 2 क्वेश्चन है पहले, whether to use their work, whether to take direct assistance. एक बार decide हो गया, if you want to use their work, then whether work is adequate. And if to take direct assistance, then to direct, supervise and review their work. Then you have to poke your nose in their work also. Do you get that? Okay, right. So now first I'm going to check the adequacy of the work. है ना? Whether the work is adequate. So now again in SE 610, using the work of the internal auditors, I am going to talk about the general evaluation of the internal audit function and the specific evaluation of the internal audit function. है ना, the general evaluation and the specific evaluation of the internal audit function. Right, generally मतलब bird's eye view, overall, not for any particular area or so, but generally I want to understand the internal audit function in the organization. So first thing I would like to check is the objectivity of the internal audit function. Second one, the competence of the internal auditors. And third one, the systematic and disciplined approach, including quality control of the internal auditors. Systematic and disciplined approach, including the quality control. What is QC? Quality control. SQC पढ़ा है ना? Right. General evaluation, मोटा मोटा, ऊपर से, bird's eye view. I want to do the general evaluation of the internal audit function. So first thing that I check for is the objectivity of the internal audit function. In one word to understand, to get an, a similar word for objectivity would be to check the importance of the internal audit function in the organization. So what you do? You go and ask client, in your company, internal audit वगैरह ऐसा कुछ होता है क्या? तो say yes, we have internal auditors. So then you ask them, can you please tell us a little bit of information regarding how the internal audit function is there in your organization? They say, it's very simple. It's not like you people, You understand? The moment we come to know that now statutory audit ka time is coming, 1 or 2 months before that, we complete with internal audit. So what we do, I call my friend, he does internal audit. So I call him, degree, kuch nahi, direct I call him. And then I tell him, who is telling you all this? Client. I call up my friend and I tell her, hey, apne company ka internal audit karna hai, tu aaja kal se. So then from next day he comes. Then he comes, we give him a computer, we show him all where the records are kept, and he keeps on doing the checking. He doesn't come and ask questions like you. He will come 10-15 days, he will keep on doing his checking. Morning 10 o'clock he comes, 5 o'clock he goes. Internal audit department, now you might have seen in any firm. Okay, right. Okay, so then 10-15 he does checking, we don't disturb him. Then one day we go and tell, bas na, abhi kitna? To bolta hai, theek hai, then tomorrow I'll give report. So then next day he gives the report. Then the moment he gives the report, any paper when any CA client they get, पहले folded, center निकालने का, punch मारने का. Standard ना. CA के पास भी कोई भी client के ऐसे record आया, client ने paper हाथ में दिए बराबर पहला thing fold, center निकालने का, and then punch it. And then they say कि we put it in the audit file which we prepare for you because we know you are going to ask for internal audit report. And then we give him a fee of 15,000-20,000 and then baat khatam. CA says, okay, like this internal audit takes place in your organization. I am not going to use the work of your internal auditor. It is just for a tag. It is just for a stamp, कि internal audit done. That type of internal audit function is there. तुम्हारे कंपनी में तो इंटरनल ऑडिटर की कोई वैल्यू नहीं है. There is no value only of the internal auditor. There is no importance given. There is no status of the internal audit function in the organization. And on the other hand, say I go to another organization and they tell me, in our company, internal auditors are appointed by audit committee, those charged with governance, board of directors. They report also directly to audit committee, the board of directors. The recommendations of internal auditor are always taken into consideration. TCWG oversee the employment decision. They are free from conflicting responsibilities. There is no restriction on scope on the work of internal auditors. Then I will say कि yes, तुम्हारे company में internal auditor को बहुत importance देते हैं, है ना? So that's the objectivity. Okay, who appoints the internal auditor? To whom do they report? Are their recommendations taken into consideration? Are they free from conflicting responsibilities? Is there any restriction on scope on the work of internal auditor? That is objectivity. Do you understand the status? Then after that, so first point is what? The attitude of the management towards internal or control, internal audit in the organization. Now second we come to the quality of internal auditors. है ना, the competence. यानी कि पहला competence का point, are they the members of the relevant professional bodies? है ना, do they have the degrees, CA, CIS, है ना, CISA, DISA? Whether they are CMA is also allowed, no? Section 138 of Companies Act. CA, CMA or any other professional as may be decided by the board. So we check, are they the members of the relevant professional bodies? Do they have the technical training and proficiency as internal auditors? Client company has SAP, they have no SAP ka training. What they'll do are internal audit. So do they have the technical training and proficiency as internal auditors? Do they follow the standards on internal audit, SIAs, standards on internal audit? I'm going to discuss one SIA 4 with you when I come to the internal audit chapter. So do they follow these standards on internal auditing? Then also, are there proper policies in the firm for hiring and training of the internal auditors? So proper HR policies in the firm, in the internal audit firm. You understand? Then do the internal auditors also have the knowledge of the AFRF? Because to comply with the AFRF, accordingly we want controls to be designed enough. So internal auditors should also have knowledge of the AFRF. Right, so what is this? This is the competence of the internal auditors. Yani ke the quality of internal auditors. The quality of the internal auditors, right? First, let us check these 2 points. Right, objectivity refers to the ability to perform those tasks without allowing bias, conflict of interest or undue influence of others to override judgment. So what should the auditor check? The organizational status of the internal audit function. So I told you the status of the internal audit function. So that they are free from bias, conflict of interest. Are they free of any conflicting responsibilities? Do TCWG oversee employment decisions? And are there any constrictions or constraints or restrictions placed on the internal audit function? Is there any limitation on scope in our language? So that's the objectivity. You never know with ICAI, they may ask you a retail question on the objectivity of the internal audit function. The organizational status, yes. Then the free of conflicting responsibility, who appoints them, are they free of any, yes, no restrictions on scope on their work. Then the level of competence of the internal audit function, matlab are they the members of the relevant professional bodies? Do they have the knowledge and the skills as a whole at the level required to do the work? So do they have the knowledge and skills? Then is it adequately and appropriately resourced? So how many people are coming to do the internal audit? 3 people. It says 3 people ka team is not enough. We require at least 10 people to do the internal audit. Such a huge organization. Then policies for hiring, training and assigning internal auditors. Training, technical training and proficiency in internal auditing. Then whether the internal auditors possess the required knowledge relating to the entity's financial reporting and the AFRF. And whether the internal auditors are again the members of relevant professional bodies that oblige them to comply with the professional standards, including the professional development requirement. Yani ke CPERs, na? Okay. Right. So that is the competence of the internal auditors. Right, and the last one, the systematic and disciplined approach, including the quality control. The systematic and the disciplined approach, including the quality control. For statutory auditor, we studied so many things. He should do risk assessment, there should be proper documentation, he should obtain proper evidence, he should prepare a proper audit program, there should be proper DSR of his work, quality control, no? So same thing also applies for the internal auditor. Okay, whether they are proper guidance for areas of risk assessment, work program, documentation, reporting. Yes, yes, matching in line with the circumstances of the entity. And also the quality control policies and procedures as laid down in SQC1. Do you remember the policies and procedures of SQC1? LEHAM. Leadership responsibilities, ethical requirements including independence, acceptance and continuance of client, human resources, engagement, performance and monitoring. Right? So systematic and disciplined approach including the quality control. So obviously first two are mainly the candidates for retail question. And the objectivity, yani ke the status. And second one, the competence of the internal auditors. And here they talk about the SQC1, LEHAM. Right. Now, so far, I have only done the general evaluation of the internal audit function. Yani ke overall, I have checked the internal audit function. Now, under specific evaluation, I am, say for example, specifically going to check how have the internal auditors done their work with relation to expenditure controls. Specifically, internal auditor ने expenditure के control कैसे check किए? That is specific evaluation of the internal audit functions. The first thing, whether the work of the internal auditors was properly planned, performed, supervised, reviewed and documented. Whether the work of the internal auditors was properly planned, performed, supervised, reviewed and documented. Whether the work of the internal auditors was properly planned, performed, supervised, reviewed and documented. Then, whether sufficient, appropriate, don't say audit evidence, because audit evidence we say only for statutory audit. Whether sufficient, appropriate evidence has been obtained by the internal auditors. Whether sufficient, appropriate evidence has been obtained. And whether the conclusions reached by the internal auditor, whether the controls are effective or they are not, yes, are they supported by the work performed? Conclusions reached by the internal auditors, have they been supported by the work performed? Yani ke now we are checking their work. You understand, no? Specific evaluation. What does it say? Whether the work of internal auditors was properly planned, performed, supervised, reviewed, documented. Sufficient, appropriate evidence has been obtained. And conclusions reached have been supported by the work performed by the internal auditors. Like, so say going a bit away from the standard. But say I want to get the interior decorator, the interiors of my home done. And I want to get the interiors. So first, very obvious, for whom will I look out for? Interior decorator, interior designer, architect and so. It's so very obvious. Now, these are the degrees that I will look out for. Certainly, I will not look out for a doctor or an engineer. It's so very obvious. Do you understand that? So first thing, when I want to get the interiors of my house done, first thing that I will look out for is for the degrees of that person. So say, from Just Dial or through my friends or through other people whom I know, I get the names of 3 interior decorators. Okay, I come to know that these 3 are good interior decorators. Then what I do, I call up each one of them. And I tell them, okay, I want to get the interiors done, so I would like to come to your office, like to see your work, vagere. You understand? And then each one of them starts showing me the work which they have done so far. And generally these interiors, they have these decorators, they have a tab with them on which all the assignments which they've completed, they have the photos of the same. Or some site which has been recently completed, they can take you also over there to see the completed work. So then, you do comparisons. One, you did the evaluation of their degrees. And now you start looking at the work of each one of them. फर्स्ट वन यू से कि इसका लंदन का डिग्री है, ऑस्ट्रेलिया का डिग्री है, 2-4 जगह अलग अलग कोर्स करके आया है, बट नो फिनिशिंग इन द वर्क. तो बोलते डिग्री भले ही बहुत भारी, मतलब डिग्री इज बी वेरी गुड, बट वर्क इज नॉट वेरी गुड. सो आई से आई डोंट वांट हिज वर्क. सेकेंड वन, मतलब अनटाइडी वर्क, नो फिनिशिंग इन द वर्क. सो आई सेड नो. सेकेंड वन इज ओवरडूइंग, complicated, matlab it doesn't look simple, it's looking overdone, you know, very dark colors and too much of decoration done. So second one I say no. This third one may be very simple, you know, very basic, no very high fundu things done, but you know, very, what you say, pleasant to the eyes, lot of finishing to the work which has been done. So that is why I finalized this third fellow. So only looking at the degrees of a person, you don't decide to use the work of that person. You also look into the work of that person. So you know, here when we did the general evaluation, we saw the degrees. We saw the attitude, the status of that function. And specific evaluation, we saw the work. कि ये लोग काम कैसे करते हैं? तो एक तो उनका evaluation, दूसरा उनके काम का evaluation. One, you do the evaluation of the person, and second, you do the evaluation of the person's work. You understand, no? You just can't say, na, okay, first though, very obvious, that doctor, so you won't call only for doing interior decoration. Then second one, you won't only see, that you are an interior decorator, please decorate. Then third thing, you will check their work, and then after that, you will get the work done. तो यू अंडरस्टैंड, एक तो उनका इवैल्यूएशन और दूसरा उनके काम का इवैल्यूएशन. तो व्हाट आई डिस्कस, जनरल इवैल्यूएशन, दैट इज द ओवरऑल. आई टोल्ड यू ना, हेलीकॉप्टर, आई एम नॉट चेकिंग फॉर अ पर्टिकुलर एरिया. And then after that, the specific evaluation of the internal audit function. Right? First come to the question bank. Yes, 1.127. Enumerate in brief the important aspects to be evaluated by the external auditor in determining the efficiency and the extent of reliance to be placed on the work and function of an internal auditor. So total they have asked, general also and specific also. क्योंकि work मतलब specific and function मतलब overall function. So specific also and general also. Right. Second question. In the course of statutory audit of Z Limited, its statutory auditor having determined that the work of the internal auditors is likely to be adequate for the purpose of statutory audit, wanted to use the work of internal auditor in respect of physical verification of fixed assets. Specific evaluation. How an evaluation of the specific work can be done? So we said now PPSRD, whether the work of the internal auditors has been properly planned, performed, supervised, reviewed and documented. Sufficient appropriate evidence have been obtained and conclusions reached have been supported by the work performed. Next one. Yes, question number 3. Review of internal audit has become the statutory responsibility for the statutory auditor. So again, you have to write down the specific evaluation of the internal audit function. And last one, CA Amboj, a practicing CA, has been appointed as an internal auditor of textile. He conducted the physical verification of inventory and handed over the report of such verification to Kishore, the statutory auditor, for his view and reporting. Can CA Kishore rely on such reports? Yes. So again, the general evaluation and the specific evaluation, but obviously continues to be responsible. The final responsibility to express an opinion shall remain with the statutory auditor. Right. And now I come to the last part, the direct assistance part. That's a new entry now. So abhi tak obviously in the question bank we are only seeing questions on the general and the specific evaluation. Now what is the new entry over there? The the direct assistance. In that case you will have to direct supervise and review the work of the internal auditors. So pehle to what you will have to decide whether to take direct assistance. No? First thing what you will have to decide is whether to take direct assistance. That depends upon one, the judgment involved. You have to take a judgment, no, auditor. कि whether to do the work on your own or whether to use the work of the, whether to use work नहीं, whether to take direct assistance. Then depending upon the RMM, the more the RMM, the more you'll prefer to check it on your own or get it checked from others. Checking on your own. है ना? So the RMM involved. Then the organizational status. What you found out, इनकी तो कुछ चलती ही नहीं है. है ना? Nobody listens to them. तो you'll say ये क्या करेंगे? हम लोग खुद ही कर लेते हैं. And if you say, अरे, they have a good command in the organization. So you'll say, I'll tell my work also to be done by them. So the organizational status, then the competence. So again, I'm picking up the upper ka points only. The organizational status, the competence of the internal auditors, and also the objectivity. They say these internal auditors are very biased. They always listen to what management is telling. They are not objective. So again, you will decide, no direct assistance. I will do the work on my own only. Why? Because even though if you take direct assistance, CTBR. So what are the points it says? First, it is your judgment. And again, after they perform the work, you may also do re-performance of the work. Statutory auditor, very mushkil se he places reliance on somebody else's work. Even though if they perform such work, he's told them, he's directed, supervised, reviewed the work. But still again, he can do re-performance of the work also. So one, it depends upon the judgment involved. Then how much is the RMM? Then what is the status? Then what is their competence? And how much is their objectivity? You understand? So this is R raised to 10. And deciding whether to take direct assistance from the internal auditors or no. In deciding whether to take the direct assistance from the internal auditors or no. Depends upon the judgment, the RMM, the status, the competence, and the objectivity of the internal audit function. Right? So with that, we shall stop here for today. We will continue on Monday.